is going on, everybody? This is Aaron Smith with Forward Gettysburg, and I have an absolute treat for you guys today. I'm going to one of the probably most remote spots on the Gettysburg battlefield, a spot of legend. Very few people have ever been here. Probably about 99% of all visitors to the park have never heard of this place. And of those 99% that have heard of it, of that 1% that have even heard of it, I bet only 1% of those have ever been there. But you and I, we are going to go there today. Walking through the woods right now. I'll give you all a hint. It is near Culp's Hill. That might have given it away for some people, but either way, this is going to be a really, really cool video, and I can't wait to show you guys. So, in order to get to this spot, there is a Park Service trail, which currently I'm on. The Park Service has a few foot easement on this trail path here, but everything else is surrounded by private property. So, that's another huge hint for those of you who may want to come here, or have heard about it, or are guessing where in the world Aaron is at on the Gettysburg battlefield. His path, as I struggle to get my large body over that tree, is incredibly rocky. This is really more of a glorified gully than a trail, but you must be very careful to respect the private property on either sides of this trail path here. The last thing you want to do when exploring history is to encounter a landowner who is less than friendly, or catch yourself a trespassing charge, because that's not what we want. We just want to explore some neat places on the battlefield. So I'm going to keep walking here. I'm going to clear this hurdle, and I'll catch up with you shortly. So, I can hear Rock Creek streaming just ahead of me. And what you and I are going to be looking for is going to be a somewhat famous little landmarker put up by the Park Service to let those who are curious about getting to this spot know that they have stayed on the right path and they're very close to where they want to go. Now, like I said, either side of me right now is private property. And I personally have no interest in catching a trespassing charge. Now, this path is not kept up by the Park Service. It is rocky. If you are more of a seated, learning from books type of historian, this may not be your kind of gig. Alright everyone, so I'm here at that famous marker I was telling you about. That's the orange U.S. boundary, National Park Service. And then we also have the Park Service survey granite marker right there. So, when you're on the trail, and you reach this point, you're going to make a hard left. Trail will branch off here. Again, we're making sure we're staying between the posted trees. We don't want to be trespassing. If you go straight, you'll end up at Rock Creek. Cool part about this part of Rock Creek is further up the creek, just north of it a ways, you can still see the remnants of the mill pond that was here at the time of the battle, just south of where the fighting at Spangler Spring would have happened. So we're going to keep going forward. Pretty simple trail to follow. Just need to stay between the posted signs. Well everyone, my destination for this video is right up there. We can see the trees thinning out and clearing out. Now I'll take your final guesses on where I am headed. Some of you may have been here. I will be really impressed if some of you guys have been here before and taken the park trail to get there. Otherwise, hang tight and I'll show you right where we're going. Friends, followers, subscribers of the channel, do you guys know where I'm at now? It's okay if you don't. Many people wouldn't. That's right. Gettysburg's Lost Avenue, Neal Avenue. If you guessed Gettysburg's Lost Avenue, Neal Avenue, you would be correct. Of course, this is your host, Aaron Smith, coming at you from the Lost Avenue itself, probably the least visited part of the Gettysburg battlefield. Many people have no idea when compared to the likes of Little Round Top, Devil's Den, the Peach Orchard, Culp's Hill even, the Angle. Nobody knows what Neal Avenue is, nobody knows what the Lost Avenue is, but here I am, nonetheless. I'm on the Lost Avenue. It is a pleasure to be here with you guys today, coming from here. Pretty simple hike up here. Just make sure that you stay on the path, that you don't deviate from the path. That is Park Service land. Everywhere else is private property around here. So what happened here? Why have a Neal Avenue? Why have a Lost Avenue? July 3rd, morning of July 3rd, Confederates are renewing their attack on Culp's Hill. The 2nd Virginia, they're going to make their way across Rock Creek, which is just down yonder hill here. They're going to make their way over Rock Creek. They're going to start pushing up this hill. They're going to go up to the Tawney Farm. I believe that's like the Zebediah Tawney Farm or the Zephaniah, one of these old school Z names. The Tawny Farm is going to be directly in that field behind us. And don't worry, I'm going to show you guys some great footage of the avenue because I want to talk a little bit about the history of the avenue itself and why it's so cool. But either way, Confederates of the 2nd Virginia, they're going to make their way up this hill. They're going to be sending forward skirmishers. They're going to be sending forward sharpshooters. They're going to be probing the Union position, seeing just where the Union position is. Now, over here to my left is the Baltimore Pike. That is the key supply route for the Union Army at Gettysburg. Goes down to their train depot in Westminster, which I've talked about in some length in some previous videos. And of course, the Baltimore Pike is also going to go down to Baltimore and further down to Washington, D.C. So an incredibly important supply route, also an incredibly important line of retreat in case things happen to go downhill at the Battle of Gettysburg, which they don't, as history shows, but either way, Meade wants these options open. So this is an incredibly important road, and that's why he is so intent upon defending Culp's Hill, because Culp's Hill defends and overlooks the Baltimore Pike. Now, we get here to Neal Avenue on Wolf Hill, which is further up yonder way, and we are now going to experience these sharpshooters and these skirmishers coming from the 2nd Virginia, coming from that farm. They're going to probe up. So what's going to happen is the 6th Corps under Slocum, he's going to order forward Neal's brigade, and Brigadier General Thomas Neal, he's going to order 6 companies of the 7th Maine, whose monument is that very, very cool shield monument down there, and he's also going to order forward the 43rd New York. And by this point, these skirmishers have taken defensive positions behind this stone wall there on the avenue, and they're going to start shooting up the hill here. So Neal's going to order forward the rest of his brigade. He's going to keep the 77th New York back to help defend the artillery that's on Powers Hill, which is that hill there right off of Granite Schoolhouse Road, just south of the Visitor Center. That's where a lot of the 12th Corps cannon is going to be. And that cannon is going to be barraging the Confederate assault on Culp's Hill. So an incredibly important position. They wanted to make sure they had some type of infantry support for their artillery. So they're going to order them forward. We're going to have the 61st Pennsylvania. The 61st Pennsylvania is going to be on top of this hill right here. And this is where they're going to take their position. Directly behind me, of course, is their right flank marker. And that is the far right of the infantry of the Army of Potomac. This is probably a marker that very, very few people get to see in person. And I cannot tell you how excited I am to be here, guys. This is so cool. This is what Gettysburg nerds and buffs and students of the Battle of Gettysburg, they live for it. This is a dream come true to visit such a mythic place. How to get here? I'll let you guys find that on your own. I think I've already given enough clues that there is a Park Service trail. However, you could probably do some internet research. There's also an incredibly kind man named Mr. Dean Schultz, and I've heard rumor that if you stop at the Visitor Center information desk and ask for Mr. Schultz's phone number, he not only will very graciously grant you access the easy way up to the Lost Avenue, but he may even give you a tour. And from what I understand, he is one of the foremost authorities on the Battle of Gettysburg. That is going to be next on my bucket list, to get a personal tour by Mr. Schultz himself. But nonetheless, I took the road less traveled, let's say. It's a rough path. It's a lot of rocks. If you guys have any type of disability, if you're older and you're worried about your joints, maybe you have some weak ankles, I can't say I would recommend taking the park path to get here, just for your own safety. Last thing I want to do is be getting on the internet telling people, hey, take this trail, and God forbid someone falls and seriously injures themselves. So please, please take precautions before you come here. Travel with a buddy if you don't think that you're in the best of shape. It's not a hard walk, it's not a long walk, but it can be very tricky nonetheless. So, regardless, now that my disclaimer is out of the way, 61st Pennsylvania, they're going to be the far right of the Union line. And this marker here, I don't know of any other marker that exists like that in the park. I think there's a far right Confederate marker there on Confederate Avenue near the Confederate Soldiers and Sailors Monument. But as for a Union marker, I don't think there is a left of the line Union marker. So this is a unique marker. This is really, really cool. I am so hyped to share it with you guys today. So we talked a little bit about the action. Thomas Neal's brigade is going to come forward minus the 77th New York, and the entire brigade being here, they're going to push their sharpshooters back to the Tawny Farm I was talking to a gentleman who actually lived just up the way there. He was saying, older gentleman, he was saying that the entire area where he lived at was covered by the 2nd Virginia as they retreated back. So very cool. It's always neat to meet people that have lived here their entire lives and the stories they tell and the stories they've heard over their lifetime. I guess the one thing I have going for me is I'm not afraid to actually say hello and talk to people and ask them questions. I'm just a genuinely genial and conversationally inclined individual. So either way, the Lost Avenue, I'm up here on the hill with the 61st Pennsylvania marker, the right of the infantry of the Army of the Potomac. Very cool spot. Let's get down into the avenue a little bit more where it opens up into the fields, and we'll discuss a little bit about the avenue itself. Here we are descending the hill. Here is the left flank marker of the 61st Pennsylvania. Like I said, this is a very this is about as far off the beaten path as you can get at the Gettysburg National Military Park without going on the private property, and of course dealing with all the legal issues that can arise from. But this is all federal property. You can visit here, you can walk here. Like I said, it's not necessarily as well kept as, you know, say a Little Round Top or a Culp's Hill or any of these other really popular, cool places on the battlefield. So, you know, it's one of those definitely travel at your own peril kind of things. You know, the trail, the best advice I can give you is to stay between the posted signs on the trail. But there's definitely a lot of turns and curves there on the trail. I can tell you, if you hit Rock Creek, there will be a National Park Service, an orange marker there. And if you're coming down the trail, you're going to want to make a hard left there. And that's going to take you to the Lost Avenue. So now we're coming up on the avenue proper itself here. Very cool, very cool. Gorgeous place, guys. Gorgeous place. To the right here is the field where the 2nd Virginia would have come up. They would have taken positions behind this stone wall. There's also a story of a wounding of a captain here from a New York regiment. Had to have been the 43rd New York. The only officer wounded here. They said that the men marked his wounding by stacking some rocks in the location of his wounding. Now this is why I'd love to get up here with a tour guide or Mr. Schultz or maybe someone from the National Park Service to point that out, because as we see, all around us are stacked rocks. I will say here are particularly neat stacked rocks, so don't take this as any type of official history, but I almost would venture to say that perhaps that is where the returning veterans marked the wounding. I want to make sure, if I'm not wrong, this marker here would have been the right flank of the 43rd New York. Yep, 43rd New York Infantry, right flank. So that very well may be, guys. Very well may be. Either way, very cool. Very cool spot. Down there would have been the Tawny Farm. Going over here to my left. Down that end would be the Baltimore Pike. We would have seen, that would have been the Baker Farm down there. And of course that's private property over there as well as it is over here. Another gorgeous monument here, and I apologize because it seems like I'm going to be fighting over a helicopter for the attention of my microphone. This is to the 49th New York. I just want to point out this cross musket design here with the wreath behind it. That's actually a pretty commonly found design on the Gettysburg battlefield on the New York monuments. I can tell you with 100% certainty that probably 500, 600, 700 yards away on Culp's Hill, I'm not quite sure the distance from the Lost Avenue, Neal Avenue, to Culp's Hill, but the monument of the 137th New York, which we talked about in one of my previous videos, actually has the same exact design on it. So just a cool little fun fact here at the Gettysburg National Military Park for all of you who are very interested in the monuments. So, like I said, this has a really, really cool history of the Lost Avenue. As the history of Gettysburg as a tourist attraction progressed forward, of course they paved a lot of the avenues, Sickles Avenue, places like that. They were paved by the Park Service because we had to transition from horses to vehicles. But here, this place was so far out of the way, people really only could visit on foot or by horse. So this entire avenue here is still grass. There is no pavement whatsoever. This would have been what it would be like for visitors in the late 1800s, the 1890s, the 1910s to come visit the battlefield. Every single avenue on the battlefield would look something like this. You would have these long stretches of grass. It would be about 10 yards wide, 15 yards wide. I'm going to say 10 yards wide. You know, it's so cool. This is like going back in time to see what other visitors 100 years ago, 130 years ago would have seen visiting the Gettysburg National Military Park. It is such a neat spot to be. If you guys notice, there's the 43rd New York Monument, further down at the 7th Maine Monument, and you probably might have even noticed up at the 61st Pennsylvania Monument up there on top of the hill. They're all in these mounds of dirt, and they're all at kind of these angles, alright? So, really, really cool fact. Back in the day, how did people view the battle? On horseback. When you're visiting on horseback, obviously you're a little bit higher than the average person standing on the ground. So these veterans that put these monuments here, they wanted to make sure that people could see them. So they would put them high up on these mounds of dirt so the visitors on horseback would be able to read about what happened here, and they would be able to see the monument to their unit and their buddies that passed away here on the Gettysburg battlefield. Quick cutaway here, like I was saying, you can see how this is built up on a mound of dirt so that those people touring the battlefield on horseback, they would have been able to get a better view of the monument. I am going to say this is probably my favorite monument. That shield is so cool. That definitely predates Captain America. But I mean, look at that. That is just a gorgeous monument. We have the floral sculpture there at the bottom on either side. The almost lily-looking flowers there. I mean, just a gorgeous, gorgeous monument to the 7th Maine, who brought forward 6 companies to fight back against the 2nd Virginia. I cannot tell you how cool it is to be here. What such a beautiful, beautiful spot. Untouched. I mean, untouched. There's no one here. This is my 2nd time being here, and I didn't see anyone here the first time I was here. This is such a cool spot. Again, if you guys want to venture out here and you can find how to get here legally, whatever method you get here, please be super, super respectful of this, because this is like walking back in time. This is such a time capsule on the battlefield. You know, this is the original avenue that was here when they started to preserve and wanted to educate people about what happened here on this hallowed ground. So please, if you come here, be respectful. Thank you so much for listening to me, for viewing the channel, for checking stuff out. Please remember to like and subscribe. I'm Aaron Smith for Forward Gettysburg. I'm going to catch some more great, great shots of this awesome, preserved, untouched part of the Gettysburg National Military Park. I'm Aaron Smith for Forward Gettysburg, and I'll catch you on the next one.
I am lost and still not found in the eye of a storm. I am weary of the stare in the air. Now I long the winds out there for the days have gone by. There I lied, wondering why I can't feel the howling winds just outside of the eye, and I scream, me oh my, why oh why am I stuck between the eye and the flow? I got nowhere that I can go. In the storm I was formed as a new man.